Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The House Judiciary Committee is responsible for helping to ensure the rule of law. Unfortunately, the chairman of this committee ignored a bipartisan congressional subpoena directed at him. His actions have made it harder for this committee and other congressional committees to get witnesses and testimony and damage the rule of law. Now, before I ask questions of Mr. Smith, I just want to make a simple observation. How scared are Republicans of talking about the Epstein files? They're so scared that they literally are calling Jack Smith the distinguished federal prosecutor who secured multiple indictments against Donald Trump with multiple felony counts. Republicans would rather talk about the criminality of Donald Trump in trying to steal an election and trying to stop the peaceful transfer of power, and the criminality of Donald Trump in stealing classified documents of obstructing justice than about Donald Trump's associations with Jeffrey Epstein and his pedophilia ring. I demand this committee, this chairman, and Republicans to call an immediate hearing asking why the Department of Justice is refusing to release 99% of the Epstein files and why the DOJ is violating the law right now. I have questions, Mr. Smith, for you, and thank you for being here today. My questions center on interactions or lack of interactions between the Biden administration and yourself. Did President Biden or anyone in the Biden White House ever direct you to seek retribution against anyone perceived to be Biden's political opponent?
No.
Did the Biden administration or President Biden or anyone in the White House ever write a social media post directing you to seek retribution against any particular individual?
No.
Did President Biden or anyone else in the Biden White House ever direct you to take any prosecutorial step whatsoever?
No.
Okay. Donald Trump made it clear he wanted to seek retribution against New York Attorney General Tish James. Trump relentlessly attacked her, saying, quote, she should be prosecuted and, quote, arrested and punished because she dared to hold Trump accountable for Trump's fraud in New York. Trump weaponized the Department of Justice, and the Trump DOJ opened a sham investigation into her alleged mortgage fraud. We know it's a sham investigation because they couldn't even get twice grand juries to secure indictments against her. When interim U.S. Attorney Eric Siebert, who Donald Trump himself appointed, spent 5 months investigating Tish James, he concluded there was not enough evidence to go forward. And what did Trump do? He fired his own U.S. attorney. Mr. Smith, did President Biden or anyone else in the Biden White House ever tell you that Donald Trump should be, quote, arrested and punished?
No.
Did President Biden or anyone else in the Biden White House ever threaten to fire you based on any action you took or did not take?
No.
Okay. Donald Trump also directed the Trump DOJ to open investigations into his own appointees who refused to do his bidding. His DOJ recently investigated Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell because Powell won't cede to Trump's bullying on interest rates. Did President Biden or anyone else in the Biden White House ever direct you to go after any Biden appointee?
No.
Okay. I just want to say a little bit about what the Republicans have brought up about these phone toll records. Do you believe the Speaker of the House is above the law?
No, I don't believe anybody should be above the law.
Right. And U.S. senators are not above the law, correct?
No.
Yeah. And members of Congress are not above the law, right?
No.
Yeah, that's right, because we're not. And what Republicans are trying to argue is somehow, if you're doing an investigation, you can't do stuff to senators or members of Congress. Get out of here. We're just under a law like everybody else. And by the way, the speech and debate clause only applies to legislative acts, communications with legislative acts. Stealing a frickin' election and trying to do so is not a legislative act. It is a crime. So I don't know what the heck they're talking about. And this is so stupid. I'm a former prosecutor. You never in an investigation go and try to get someone's toll records or phone records and then tell them, hey, dude, we're about to get your phone records. Of course you wouldn't tell them. What the Republicans are saying today is just idiotic. I am so pleased you're here on national TV telling the American people that Trump was indicted. He was indicted lawfully, and multiple grand juries secured those indictments. Thank you for your service, and history will look upon you well. I yield back.
People watching from home wondered why something meant to bring clarity kept creating more questions. Reports claim the full scope of materials still hasn't surfaced completely, even months later, sparking heated arguments about transparency and accountability in government. Lieu didn't hold back during the hearing. He pointed fingers at the committee chairman and Republicans for what he saw as dodging the real issue. Instead of focusing on Epstein connections, he said they preferred spotlighting other legal matters involving former President Trump. The California congressman demanded an immediate hearing to grill officials on why 99% of the files seemed stuck somewhere in the system. His words echoed across social media, with viewers splitting into camps, some cheering the push for truth, others calling it pure political theater. But the core demand resonated. Why the delay in releasing records the public had a right to see under the law? What made Liu's push even sharper was the contrast he drew with past actions. He grilled the witness on whether the Biden White House ever pressured for retribution against political opponents. The answers came back clear: no directions, no threats, no interference. Lieu used that to highlight what he viewed as hypocrisy, pointing to Trump's past comments about prosecuting officials who investigated him. Those moments in the hearing felt raw, like peeling back layers on how power gets used or misused depending on who's in charge. Observers noted how quickly the conversation shifted from broad rule of law concerns to specific partisan battles, keeping everyone glued to the drama unfolding live. As the exchange heated up, Lieu turned to phone records and investigations involving members of Congress. He argued nobody should be above the law, not speakers, not senators, not anyone. The back and forth grew intense, with claims flying about what counts as legitimate oversight versus overreach. This part of the hearing exposed deep divisions on how far committees can go when probing sensitive topics. It left many tuning in thinking about bigger issues, like whether political loyalty sometimes trumps full disclosure, especially when high-profile names surface in old files. The Epstein files themselves have a complicated history that keeps pulling people back in. Partial batches finally dropped later, including millions of pages, videos, and images. Some documents mentioned prominent figures from politics, business, and entertainment, but officials stressed many entries contained unverified or outright false claims. DOJ statements described certain accusations as sensationalist, particularly those timed around elections. Still, the slow rollout fueled online speculation and rumors about what might be missing. Reports suggest possible scrubbing or heavy redactions to protect victims. Yet critics on all sides argue not enough reached the public. This back and forth keeps the story alive, with fresh debates popping up whenever a new detail leaks or a lawmaker speaks out. One angle that stands out involves long-rumored social ties between Epstein and various influential people, including former President Trump. They knew each other years ago, attending some of the same circles in New York and Florida. Trump has said their relationship cooled off well before Epstein's legal troubles escalated. Files released so far reference those past interactions, but don't introduce groundbreaking evidence of wrongdoing by Trump or others in that circle. It's been said that some witness notes included dramatic but uncorroborated stories, which DOJ later flagged as unreliable. These elements add mystery to the releases, making viewers wonder what else might still be held back and why. Beyond the names, the delays raised serious questions about trust in institutions. The law aimed for searchable, downloadable records with clear explanations for any withholdings. When that didn't happen on schedule, lawmakers from both parties voiced concerns. Some pushed for probes into the process, while others defended the need for careful victim protections. The back and forth created a cloud of uncertainty. People following the story online shared theories ranging from political protection to simple bureaucratic overload. Whatever the truth, the episode shows how one case can ripple through years of headlines and hearings. Lieu wrapped his time by praising the witness and reminding everyone of the indictments secured in other high-profile cases. He tied it back to the importance of lawful processes, even as he hammered on the Epstein issue. That closing note shifted the mood slightly, leaving the audience reflecting on consistency in justice. For viewers at home, it highlighted how these hearings often blend personal attacks with calls for broader reform. The Epstein Files saga fits that pattern perfectly. Part legal battle, part political weapon, and always full of unanswered pieces. What happened next in the weeks and months after similar hearings only added fuel. More batches came out, but advocates and some officials continued flagging problems with redactions and missing entries. Rumors suggest certain high-profile references got extra scrutiny before public viewing. It's been reported that survivors and transparency groups worried about re-victimization from incomplete handling. At the same time, supporters of the administration pointed to the massive volume already shared as proof of good faith effort. This tug of war keeps engagement high because everyone senses there could be more revelations around the corner. The bigger picture touches on how scandals like this test public faith. When files tied to serious crimes stay partially hidden, it invites doubt about whether powerful interests influence outcomes. Speculation runs wild on forums and comment sections, with claims about cover UPS or selective justice. Neutral observers note that while no definitive new bombshells emerged proving widespread high-level involvement, the process itself became a controversy. That dynamic turns a legal transparency effort into nonstop political fodder, pulling in new audiences every time a fresh hearing or leak surfaces. Transitions between administrations added another layer. Under different leadership, priorities shifted on how aggressively to pursue every lead from Epstein's network. Some wonder if personal connections ever played a quiet role in pacing. Others argue resource limits and privacy laws explain the caution. Either way, the public deserves the full story as the law intended. Liu's hearing served as a reminder that oversight never really stops, even when the headlines fade. Looking closer at the release materials reveals a mix of routine records and more intriguing notes. Photos, emails, and interview summaries paint a picture of Epstein's vast social reach. Many entries name drop without context or evidence of crime. Officials repeatedly clarified that presence in files doesn't equal guilt. Yet for those chasing answers about justice for victims, every withheld page feels like a missed chance. This tension drives ongoing interest as people search for patterns or overlook details that could change the narrative. Recent developments keep the momentum going. Lawmakers on oversight panels continue pressing for audits and explanations. Judges have stepped in on occasion to demand better compliance. The conversation evolves from raw demands to detailed reviews of what was actually delivered versus promised. It shows the system working, even if slowly